Okay, hi everyone, Daryl here. Okay, so I got this question. It's actually a question posed by somebody on my YouTube channel. Because I did this video on what are the height restrictions for condominiums, and then I actually explained how the plot ratio actually corresponds with the story height control. And actually, this client actually or somebody actually left a question. I shrunk his question down. He actually asked how to find additional restrictions on top of plot ratio for service sensitive areas such as the areas around the Istana. Okay, so let's take a look at how to get this. Okay, so how to find additional restrictions on top of this plot ratio for sensitive areas. Let's look at the Istana because it was actually mentioned. Okay, so here is actually the okay, never mind, I'll just go from the main page. Okay, so once again, everyone, please be familiar with the URA website. If you're in the market for private property, please know how to use all this. Okay, I'm trying to do this video so you can watch my videos to take a look at how to do this. Okay, so this red color portion, right, this is the Istana. And let's take a look at, let's say this here, okay? So this small little plot of land. This is actually Covenant House. So if you take a look at Covenant House, it actually has a plot ratio of 2.1. It can 2.1 can build up to 24 stories, but it doesn't mean that the developer will always build to the maximum. Okay, because I guess it's more expensive to build higher. But if you go one level down, the gross plot ratio for 1.6 actually has a height limit of 12. So 2.1 has a height limit of 24. So we will expect properties to be built more than 12 stories, but up to 24 stories. So let's take a look at this. This is actually Covenant House. So Covenant House is 14 stories. So it's still within the 24 stories, but it's more than the 12 stories that 1.6 plot ratio can build. So this is another plot of land. This is actually Covenant Gardens. So Covenant Gardens, right, is 13 stories. So this here also corresponds with building more than 12 stories because 1.6 plot ratio is 12 stories. 2.1 is up to 24. So we will expect the developer to build from 13 up to a maximum of 24 stories. So it did build 13. Yeah, so the land around sensitive area like Istana also corresponds to the height restriction on the master plan. So the master plan, right, the plot ratio and the height restriction follows. If let's say it's deemed to be a sensitive area, then the plot ratio will be lower. So they control the height by the plot ratio. Okay, are there additional requirements that need to be done for properties around this area? Sure, there can be. Like there are some design elements like around the Istana whereby some buildings they need to have those fins, which some buildings have those fins which obscure the view, obscure clear view of the Istana for security reasons. And there are many other ways whereby the URA sets other restrictions on various plots of land. So one of it is actually setback requirements. We'll talk about this in a later video. Okay, and then there's actually this thing called the road reserve line. So there are category like 1 to 5 road reserve lines. Then it doesn't mean that like if you're on a Cat 1 or a Cat 5 road reserve line, then you know that portion of the road will definitely be taken back by the government. Actually, the road reserve line acts as a buffer. Okay, so if let's say you're on in front of a very busy road or close to the expressway, the government will definitely or URA will definitely set a buffer which is further away. So the housing has to be built. The starting point for where your housing block starts, right, it is set further away than a minor line. So like if let's say the road is very quiet, then URA, by common sense, right, URA will allow the developer to build the building a little bit closer to the road. Then if let's say the is a very heavy road or a expressway, right, then definitely the URA will set a buffer and tell the developer to start building further behind. So a road reserve line, right, also acts as a buffer, and of course anything that the developer wants to build is always subject to approval. So to sort of answer your question, I don't think that the URA sets additional restrictions on top of sensitive areas. They just use the plot ratio and the height restriction that is attached to that plot ratio to control the buildings around the area. So like areas that are around Paya Lebar Air Base, their plot ratio is actually lower. And when Paya Lebar Air Base is cleared to be developed into a housing residential area, then of course the plot ratios that are around the area will be revised. Okay, and then developers can build higher. So that is maybe one aspect which investors may want to take a look at in places whereby like Paya Lebar Air Base is going to be cleared, so they know that the height restriction will be released. Then there's a higher use for land, more intensive use for the land. So developers will be looking there. Then that is maybe one place where possible en bloc, but of course nothing is guaranteed. No one knows whether a place will get en bloc. So I always get that in the last like 16 years of my life as a real estate salesperson, right, I've always had clients who ask me which condo is going to go for en bloc sale. Then I told them, if I know, right, I will put my own money inside. So I also don't know. No one knows. Okay, which condominium is going to receive en bloc. We won't know. Okay, developers also not so stupid to tell people, say, I definitely want this plot of land. Then like that those owners, right, can ask for the sky already. Okay, so all this information not known, but just as a way of thinking, right, if let's say Paya Lebar Air Base is going to be cleared because it was a sensitive area previously, then the plot ratio around the area should be revised. Developers will be allowed to build higher, and definitely the value of the land will be more valuable than what it is now, because now currently the value of the land is lower because developers can't build so high. Okay, so that is something that to take note. Yeah, so I hope that answers the question. Thanks for watching.